Well, welcome everybody, and thank you very much for joining, for taking the time to join us today. Um, I'm not sure if everybody knows me. I don't think I know everybody, and I don't know who most of you are because I don't see you so far. So my name is Claudette, and I'm the project manager of IWL Learn. And essentially, this is the third of a series of webinars dedicated to communications that we are organizing within this current phase of IW Learn 5. Some of you might recall the first one was exactly 1 year ago, November last year, where it was our first exchange with let's say, dedicated exchange with the communications people within the IW portfolio. And we called it Back to Basics. And then earlier this year, in April, we had a second webinar dedicated to strategic communications. And following up on that, many of you, I think, and I hope, have also joined the pre-conference workshop in Uruguay that took place, in September before the main IWC conference, and from there probably you met Alain as well as Olivia. So we thought it will be a great opportunity also to keep the momentum that is been generated since Uruguay, to follow up with the third webinar today, that we called it Ready, Set, Communicate. And that will also look into more detail into the toolkit that was presented in Uruguay, especially for those who were not there or who are already using it. Well, with that, I thank Hélène, ICPDR, for coordinating and your collaboration to set this up. And maybe just a few house rules. I'm not sure if you were planning to say anything on those lines.
Please go ahead.
Hélène,
Yeah.
the boring stuff. So, well, as always, keep your microphone in mute when you don't plan to speak. We are recording the session, and we will also make the recording available eventually on the communications hub on IW Learn website. And we invite you to engage. So we select the option that allows you to raise your hand and ask question on purpose. So feel free to do so. With that, thank you very much, and then I hand over to Ellen.
Thank you very much, Claudette, and welcome everyone. And I'm going to start with sharing my slides to introduce you to our webinar called Ready, Set, Communicate. Exactly, and that's going to provide you with an essential toolbox for your IW project. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever, depending on wherever in the world you're joining us from. So a warm welcome from this webinar. My name is Hélène from the ICPDR. You can see the logo on your screen, the International Commission for the Protection of the Danube River. And we're really thrilled to have a nice group today to listen in to us. And to some of you may have been, as Claudette mentioned, with us at IWC 10 in our pre-conference workshop, which I had the honor to co-lead with Olivia Rampol, whom I think I see on the list of participants today. So hi, Olivia. And we'll be diving into new strategies to build on what we've started. So on that toolbox that we shared with you. And of course, if you're first-time participants, you don't have to worry. We'll have everything you need to just jump in. So this webinar will run for about 90 minutes. I'm going to have to keep the time, which is something I'm not very good at. So Claudette, please, if you can help with that as well. Everything will be broken down in this seminar into 6 sections, and we'll finish with, if we have time, with a Q&A feedback session, giving you time to ask questions, to share your thoughts, and that, of course, if time allows. And later, at some point this week or next week, you will receive a template template for each of the tools that we are covering today that you can add to the communication toolbox that we've already submitted. So things are piling up nicely for you. Now, our webinar today has three main goals: to equip you with practical, actionable communication tools. So we are going to cover essentials like target audience analysis, storytelling, crisis communications, digital publication tips, and crafting the perfect pitch. For those who know me, I'm a bit obsessed with pitches, and I think they're really important. We also want to show you communication skills and how our communication skills are crucial for project success, even for those who do not work in communication roles. Because clear and effective communication just make all the difference when you want to build support, engage stakeholders, or secure funding. And finally, what we also want to do is, of course, build on the momentum from the IWC 10 and increase outreach. We'll recap some key tools. Again, for those who joined us in Uruguay, you might remember some ideas and some insights. But before we dive into the real serious stuff, again, for those who've been in Uruguay, you know that I like icebreaker exercises. So we're going to kick things off with something light and fun. We're going to start with a little bit of a opinion poll, or maybe a confession. Who in here has ever struggled to stay awake during a long webinar? So if you can all, I don't know, hit the like button or whatever, just let me know how it is. And I think I have exactly what you need. Okay, I've got one hand raised. Besides, nobody else? Okay, so nobody's fallen asleep in webinars. Well, that's good. So I hope this second part will not be, as this icebreaker will not be too boring for you, but here we go. Just sharing my slide here again. Just give me a second. Sorry, I need to jump between two presentations, so that's always a little bit challenging, but we're getting there. There we go. So here comes our icebreaker. Can you all see it? Okay. Yeah, so basically we have some tips for you to just do a little bit of warm up. We brought you some tips of how to stay awake in a webinar. So because webinars can be a test of endurance, especially when you're a different time zone of multitasking. So fear not, I'm just about to share some surefire ways to stay awake, to stay engaged, and maybe even enjoy yourself along the way. So let's dive into some key tips we have for you to stay awake. First of all, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. You need to get a good night's sleep before one. So it's, of course, easier said than done, but you need to drink some coffee or tea. I have mine next to me here. You need to sit up straight, and that's like the easy, practical first tips. But what else I think is really cool is to think of a webinar like a game. So the buzzwords is bingo challenge. You pick some keywords you think I'll be saying today, things like impact, stakeholder, or call to action. And every time I say one, you give yourself a point, for example. You can also make a friendly competition and check with your colleagues who's taking most notes or who's writing the best tips from the meeting. And then the winners, I don't know, get bragging rights maybe, or just get treated for coffee. My favorite probably is snacks. Is like, keep some crunchy snacks on hand. Why crunchy? I'd say because the noise keeps you awake and nobody else can hear since your microphone is muted. But it's a good way also to stay awake. And finally, use the chat box to share your thoughts or questions, anything you may have. Please, this workshop should be interactive. So just show me that you're there, show that you're following, that you're not falling asleep. And yeah, and simply give it a go whenever you feel like you wanna share something with me. Do that. Post-its are also really, really important. And hold on a second, I think I went too fast on my slide. Is that possible? Sorry. Um, then you need to have to do some movement as well. So I don't know, shoulder roll, stretching your legs under the desk, gently rolling your head, whatever works for you. Just do it and stay here with us. And of course, you can do a little yoga pose or even a little dance. I don't see anyone's face, so whatever you feel like. Um, then the power of post-its. I think people should not underestimate the power of post-its. Just jot down some key takeaways or reminders, stick them on your monitor. That is a good way to stay awake. And of course, think about the coffee break or having your coffee next to you. So yeah, these are sort of little tips that should be able to help. And now for the creatives around us, I would say map it out, draw your own infographic of what's being discussed. It's really great for visual learners. Everyone scribbles during webinars, so you might as well scribble it down and just write something from what you hear and make those notes. Set maybe a mini timer for yourself, sort of like, every 10, 15 minutes. I don't know, pause, write down something, drink a cup of your coffee or whatever you need, or have that snack. And yeah, that's just to make sure that you stay engaged. And I would say the ultimate hack is get excited. Find one thing in that webinar that you genuinely want to learn. Focus on that. It will keep your brain active and your curiosity peaked. And please remember, this is not just another webinar, it's an investment in you and your IW project. So I hope you're all wide awake, armed with some tips. So let's jump into the webinar. And remember, if you see someone falling asleep, if anyone's ever going to turn on their camera, if not, then, just follow the tips and let's get on with the content. So I'm going to go back to my slides now. Is everybody okay for now? Okay, good. At least I'm getting some reaction. That's very nice. Okay, so here comes my... Sorry, some technical issues here. But we'll overcome them quickly. So now we're diving in. Now that I give you the tips of how to stay awake, I'm going to continue with that, but with the real content of the webinar. So why you came today. I can just share my slides. There you go. Okay, so what's really important is to know your audience, to establish, hold on a second, just a minute. It seems that it's not working properly on this side. I don't know why. Try again. And then I promise I'm not swapping between presentations, so you're going to be just fine following me. So we stopped here, and this is where we start diving into our content. So we're going to start with audience analysis. So this is very important. We need to understand what audience analysis is. We need to understand your target, that your target audience is one of the most important steps. Like who your target audience is really one of the most important steps in effective communication. It's about knowing... Yes?
Sorry, Hélène, I don't know if you intend to project, but we don't see your screen.
Really? Okay, I thought I was sharing. Okay, thank you for letting me know. It says here that I'm sharing. Let me try again. Does it work now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
apologies for that. some of these technical issues. I still can't overcome them after I don't know how many years of COVID and online webinars. Anyhow, so let's start diving into target audience analysis. So we need to understand what is target audience analysis. I think understanding your target audience is the most important step in effective communication. It's about knowing who you're talking to, what they care about, and how to reach them. So when you know your audience, you can tailor your messages to resonate with them. You can make your communication more impactful, more meaningful. And if you don't define your audience, your messages are just going to be too broad, making it less likely to achieve your goals. So you need to set clear goals. What do you want to achieve? Is it raising awareness? Is it gaining support or securing funding? So clear goals really shape your approach and they act as the foundation to your communication. Then you need to identify primary and secondary audiences. So basically to list all the groups or individuals who have an interest or are affected by your project. So primary audiences are the most important groups directly involved in or impacted by your project. So these will include government agencies, policy donors, sponsoring organizations, and local communities, and also just your average person walking down the street. He or she's also a stakeholder. And secondary audiences are supportive groups that may indirectly benefit from your project or they can help raise awareness. So these include NGOs, media, academic institutions, and private sector stakeholders. Now, you need to understand needs and motivations. So what does your audience value? What matters to them? What drives their decisions? How relevant is each stakeholder to your project? And how does your project align with that? Understanding this ensures your message lands effectively. Now, once you've defined your audience, it's time to choose the best channels for reaching them. So what will work with some demographic may not work for another. Not every audience uses the same platforms. And here are typical channels. So we have social media for quick updates to a broad audience. We have press releases to share with the media, with journalists. We have emails, direct messages for direct communication with sponsors and stakeholders. We have website updates to post statement and FAQs in one conveniently accessible place. You need to ask yourself really, does your target audience spend, where does your target audience spend their time? So, for example, Facebook and newsletters said they're, different demographics. So Facebook and newsletters are great for older demographics, while Instagram and TikTok work better if you're targeting millennials or Gen Zs. You need to adapt your content for each platform. So social media should use short, engaging images and videos. Reports and newsletters are better for in-depth analysis and project updates. The key is really to meet your audience where they are with content that speaks their languages and appeals to them. So you need to tailor your message for each platform. For example, again, short, engaging visuals work well on social media, well-detailed analysis, more in-depth, are more suitable for reports, newsletters, etc. So really, bottom line is choosing the right channel helps you ensure that your message is seen, heard, and read by those who need it the most. With your audience in mind, the next step is to shape your project's narrative through a project impact story. So that's sort of our next block. The storytelling is important because it creates an emotional connection and it makes your project relatable and memorable. Of course, facts and figures are important and they need to be verified, but when they're paired with a compelling story, it totally goes to the next level. And why? Simply because facts inform, but stories inspire. You need to define your core messages. What do you want people to take away? Your messages should be, again, concise and impactful. I can't say that enough. Conciseness, not too convoluted. You need to also outline the problem and the solution. So you define the issue that your project addresses and how your project is going to solve it. Now, real world examples really make a world of a difference. When you're telling a project story, you need to make sure that you use real examples and data to make the impact more tangible. So, for example, testimonials from community members or those directly impacted by your project add a human element that makes your story more relatable and more memorable. So, I would say like maybe an example of how you combine data and testimonials using like a specific person for a deeper level communication personalization element. Sorry, you can say like using data since we began our work, pollutants have dropped by 40%, for instance. But you can also share testimonials like Sam's community now has had clean water for the first time in 5 years. You can make it you need to make it also relatable, so to connect your audience to the story with universal themes like health, safety, or community. The most effective project impact stories balance really are really those that balance hard facts with human connection. Another good example, for example, is let's say something the data says 500 tons of waste were removed from the Danube River. So you could add a human element by saying local families in the Danube River basin now have a safer environment for their children to play in. And another good example would be plastic pollution along the Danube has contaminated drinking water. Our cleanup initiative reduced waste by 40%, improving water quality for thousands. Now, what do you want your audience to do after they hear your story? You need to be really specific, whether it's donating, advocating, or sharing your work. Encourage your audience to take action accordingly. You need to encourage involvement, specific involvement. Your story has a beginning and it has an end. So end it with a strong call to action and keep it simple and direct. So a call to action should be easy to understand and accessible. Avoid complicated steps and focus on one or two ways the audience can make a difference immediately. Now, let's move to crisis communications. This is another topic that we want to touch on. What's the purpose of a crisis communications plan? This is something, a crisis is something we all know about and we all fear. So when things go wrong, and I think we all know they will at some point, or they do, unfortunately, a crisis communication plan is really your safety net. It's what will make the difference between chaos and control. Think of it like your roadmap for responding effectively when obstacles arise. It helps you to protect your organization and your project's credibility, to maintain trust, and to demonstrate resilience when it matters the most. So crisis could be something like an environmental incident, I don't know, like pollution events, natural disasters, habitat destruction, or water contamination. So health or safety issues regarding the public or teams involved in your project, for example, or and that also happens, any negative publicity or media coverage targeting your organization. So a crisis communication plan is a structured guide to managing unexpected issues that could damage your project or your organization. It really makes sure that your team knows exactly what to do, what to say, when to say something, and how to say it. Without it, you risk delayed responses and mixed messages, you leading to confusion, miscommunication, and even worse, losing trust and credibility. Because remember, our organizations typically bank on transparency, so you don't want to lose such an asset. For example, imagine an environmental incident in your project area. Having a plan means that you can respond immediately, reassure the public, and communicate your steps clearly. You want to make sure your communication efforts are organized, that they are timely, that they are aligned with your project's organization's values. It shows that you're in control even in a tough situation. So it's all about staying calm, staying clear and proactive in moments of uncertainty. And it's basically you wanting to avoid pushing that panic button. Now, one of the first things that you will need to do is to establish a crisis team and to define roles. So every good plan starts with a team. Identify who's responsible for each part of the response. Everyone needs to know their role. Assign clear responsibilities, like a spokesperson, perhaps a social media manager, I don't know, an information gatherer. So this would be a team consisting of usually 3 to 5 people. And this is how it would work, or at least it should work. The spokesperson will be the main person who speaks on behalf of the project. Usually, that would be a project leader or higher up within the organization. The comms lead will monitor the the PR situation and manage all written and spoken content. And your support team will provide assistance, gather any relevant info, and help the spokesman or spokesperson to prepare, and to feed the comms lead with any information they may have overlooked, because this also happens. So there's really a cycle of responsibility and roles here. Now, your key messages should be clear, they should be honest, and they should be reassuring to make everyone feel a sense of total transparency. Think about who needs to hear from you. So, stakeholders like sponsors, donors, government agencies, or higher ups in your organization, the internal team members, local communities, journalists, funders, or again, just your average person walking down the street. You need to keep calm and to stick to the facts, to express empathy again, and to tailor messages for each group to ensure clarity and transparency. You need to also provide these clear next steps, again, the solutions, and show that you're in charge. Now, timing is definitely of the essence in a crisis. So you need to plan, and to plan carefully when and how often you'll share updates. You need to make sure to write it down and to share the plan timeline with your team. You will need an immediate response. That's important. This initial immediate response is going to acknowledge the situation quickly. So even when with a short statement like, I don't know, we are aware and investigating, can reassure stakeholders. For example, a public update during a chemical spill can ease concerns while your team gathers details. Ongoing updates are crucial. Make sure you provide regular updates as the situation unfolds. Be transparent about your progress and your next steps, and maybe the difficulties you're encountering. For example, share how evacuation and cleanup efforts are progressing and what measures are being taken to prevent future incidents in case of a spill. And once the crisis is resolved, issue a final statement summarizing actions taken and lessons learned. This is important to close your crisis. And remember, transparency builds trust and reassures any audience. Now, you need to reflect as well. So you need to know from the start that crisis communication isn't a one and done effort. Of course, there's a beginning and an end of your crisis, but you still need to prepare. So you need to maybe within your organization, with your new project, to try to talk about regular training for your team, to rehearse scenarios and to refine your plan. After any crisis, just stop and reflect what worked less, what didn't work at all. Use the insights to improve your plan. Do you really have a crisis plan? If not, what would your next steps be? We're moving now to publication tips. That's our next section. So we all live in a digital world now. This is a fact that requires a major pivot in how we approach everything. Your digital publications are more than just documents today. They are actually your project's voice in the digital world. There are a chance to translate complex information into accessible and engaging content for your audience. So whether it's a fact sheet, a report, or social media post, you need to have well-designed digital materials that will captivate your audience. They'll capture their attention, they'll build credibility, and they'll inspire people to find out more about your project and, of course, to take action. You will want to be sure to create engaging and clear and concise content to keep your readers engaged. This will help you effectively communicate complex information. And of course, it will make you look smart too. So just start by asking yourself, What is the main purpose of my publication? Who is my audience? These key questions will help you guide the tone, the language, and the design of your publication. Now, I want to cover here the essential steps to keep your content clear and concise, and then we'll break down each element into more details. So you need to focus on the key points and to choose clarity over complexity. Use simple language. Digital publications need to present your ideas clearly and concisely. Avoid jargon, convoluted sentences, try to break down complex concepts into simple terms that the average person could understand. Even smart people like to and enjoy reading simpler content. Online readers skim more than they read, so you can use bold headings, subheadings, bullet points, concise paragraph to make your content easy to scan. You should organize your publication into sections with clear, engaging headings. As an example, you could use headings like our mission, our key challenges, how can you help to guide your readers to the content. But a good tip that you need to remember is that a reader should be able to grasp your key points in under 30 seconds. So what does that mean? That means that you should keep paragraphs to 3 to 4 sentences to maintain readability and avoid long blocks of text that will overwhelm your readers. And also use white space for your advantage. You know, white space isn't wasted space. It's breathing room for your content. It helps you make your publication visually appealing and easier to navigate. You don't want to overload everything. Just think about it. Compare, go ahead and compare a cluttered PDF to one with clear margins and well-spaced element, and then you'll tell me which one you find more inviting and appealing. And I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Yeah, so bold and highlight information, but don't overdo it. That might confuse your readers. Consistency matters in design of publications, really. Stick to a consistent font, color palette, style throughout your publication. That creates a professional, polished look that aligns with your branding. So you would want to use, I don't know, a clean sans serif font like Arial or Calibri. Make sure you use a readable font size, so not 8, but more 12 for the body text. That's a pretty safe guideline. Use colors thoughtfully. So if your organization, for example, uses green and blue in its logo, make sure you reflect these colors in your publication. The color palette needs to be cohesive with your organization's brand. You need to ensure that the text is easily read by using high contrast, e.g. like dark test, for example, dark test on a light background. But also color, although color is important, really try to avoid relying on color alone to convey the message. Use visuals that are simplified, that are sort of simple and easy to grasp, to understand. Charts and graphs and infographics, these are very, very much in, but that they make the data more digestible. But you're going to need to do it right, and also use photos. Photos are very nice, and illustrations, they help convey emotion and they tell a story. So instead of long-winded paragraphs describing pollution trends, you can include, for example, a line graph showing the changes over time. Now, here are some tips for your images. Use only clear images that are really relevant to your message. This probably goes without saying, but unfortunately, very often when I have to prepare a publication, I receive blurry or pixelated visuals that distract from the publication. I find it hard to actually find good photos. Compress images for faster loading. So often very large images can take a very long time to download. So of course there are several tools available online where you can resize or compress your images without compromising their quality. Think about using those. And another tip that I think is worth mentioning is to add alt text to describe images for visually impaired readers. I think this is accessibility is also an important aspect. So, for example, if you use a pie chart, then the alt text might read something like pie chart is showing 40% of stakeholders support our project. Many readers will also view your publication on a phone or a tablet. So accessibility again, and on different sets of machines. So double check that your content is responsive and easy to read on smaller screens. A single layout column usually works best on mobile devices. Save your documents as PDFs. That's PDF sharing. PDFs are universally accessible and they maintain the formatting across all devices. So before you send out, make sure, sorry. Before you send out, just make sure that everything's saved correctly, and that your document has been saved as a PDF. I would say before and after publishing is also important. But before that, sorry, I want to finish with the clear call for action that you'll need when you write a publication. And we've already discussed like the fact that calls to action matter. That every piece of content, including digital publications, should guide your audience towards the next steps. So whether they are learning more, supporting your project, or sharing your message. So here you have your beautiful subscribe button. Your call to action should be easy to find and simple to follow. So some clear examples of calls to action are, I don't know, learn more on our website, contact us, donate now, and register for our event, for example. Yeah. Finally, again, before and after publishing, I think we don't emphasize enough double checking and proofreading. That's really important. Please double check for any typos, any errors. A polished publication reflects beautifully on your organization. However, the opposite can really, really hurt. You can use tools like Google Analytics to measure engagement also after you've published. It's helpful to check the performance to see how many downloads your document has received, for example. And and I would say you can also use any feedback to improve. Like, feedback, even negative, of course, is less pleasant to receive, but it's helpful because it can help you identify what did not work, what worked well, and you can get a better idea about what change you want to make in the future. Communications is a constant learning process and adaptation to new things. So there's nothing wrong with receiving that criticism and changing based on what you've heard. Now, the pitch. Again, that's my favorite part of my presentations on communication. I am obsessed with creating pitches. So for those who have joined the pre-conference workshop in Uruguay, you already have had some good practice on crafting an elevator pitch. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important skills to refine your work on. So your pitch is your first impression of your project, and you rarely get a second chance. So a great pitch is three things: your chance to grab attention, a great way to spark interest, and a fantastic opportunity to secure support, whether it's funding, partnership, or getting stakeholders on board. It's not just about what you say, it's about excuse me, it's about how you say it. So the goal is to have a compelling, memorable narrative that will resonate with your audience. If you're still unconvinced about why a good pitch matters, then I have three other key points that perfectly demonstrate a pitch's importance. A strong pitch sets the tone for your entire project. It's what makes people want to learn, join your cause, or fund your efforts. A pitch breaks down your project's essence into clear and digestible messages. So it's your chance to communicate value quickly and effectively. And when it's customized, your pitch becomes a powerful tool to inspire action. A good example of this is that policymakers might care about long-term societal benefits, while funders are going to be, I don't know, interested in measurable results. So that's all things you can address in your pitch. So identify your pitch's purpose. What do you want to achieve? Make sure that this is clear. Then you need to tailor your pitch to your audience. That means you need to know your audience. You need to know who they are. And then again, ask yourself this very simple question: who are you making the pitch to, and what do they care about? Your pitch should be tailored to their level of knowledge, of their interest. That means you need to think about their background. Are they experts? Are they community members? Are they key stakeholders, potential sponsors? And consider their interests and priorities. Think about what matters most to them. So again, for example, a policymaker might focus on regulations, economic benefits, while a community member might care more about immediate local impacts. Speak their language. Avoid jargon. Use terms and examples that really resonate with your audience. Instead of talking about biodiversity loss, you want to think about local fish species are disappearing, and adapt the delivery. Also, a pitch for a large audience may use visuals and storytelling, while one-on-one pitches, for example, can focus more on a dialogue with the person you're pitching. Yeah, here are some key components of successful pitches. Sorry, attention-grabbing openings. These work really well. Start with a hook that captures your audience's interest. Use a surprising fact, a powerful statistic, a personal story, or a thought-provoking question. So I would think of examples like, did you know that our project is reducing waterborne diseases by 40% in just 1 year? Or can you imagine a world where clean water is available to every community member? We can. Our project is making this a reality. That's a nice pitch. So clearly state the issue your project is addressing, make it relatable and urgent. Keep it in simple terms so that anyone, even your grandma or your teenage brother, can understand. Again, example, something like in our region, communities suffer from limited access to clean water, which affect both health and economic stability. And looking at the time, we're good. You need to also present your solution as the answer to your pitch. So explain how your project provides the solution to this problem. Highlight what makes your approach and solution totally unique or the most effective option there is. Be concise, but be specific. For example, you could say our project has introduced affordable water filtration systems that provide clean water to thousands of people, improving health outcomes and reducing costs. Highlight the impacts with specific examples. Back up your claim with data. Again, this is important. You need to have data-backed information that you also can use. And of course, you should also use testimonials or examples of success. So you need to show that your project is grounded in research and results. It's data-oriented, and you need to make it relatable. If you can, really try to add this one human element. Share a story of how your project has directly benefited someone. People connect more with tangible examples rather than general and sometimes, again, convoluted and complex statements. Some examples that you can say something like, since our project began, waterborne illness had decreased by 30% in the communities we serve. That's personalizing. We've managed to train over 100 local volunteers, creating a sustainable support network. Wow. Showcase the broader benefits. Explain why this matters in a broader context. So try to help your audience see the wider impact of your project. For example, our approach doesn't just help in one area. It's a model that can be replicated across other regions or other river basins facing similar challenges. Again, avoid these complicated, convoluted languages, technical jargon terms. I know it looks smart, and I know, again, also I'm repeating myself, but it's important. It's such an important point. Again, it might show that you're smart, that you're well-versed, that you know your stuff, but it also will confuse your audience. So instead, try to keep your language straightforward and relatable. Again, some example like saying, I don't know, instead of leveraging cross-sectorial partnerships, you can say something like working with different groups to achieve shared goals, or use active verbs like to improve, to empower, and transform to make your message more dynamic. And with a clear call to action. Again, we're back talking about our calls to action, but yeah, we need those. And with a clear, compelling ask. what do you want your audience to do next? Whether it's providing funding, partnering with you, spreading the word, taking action, make it specific and actionable. And as the age-old say goes, practice makes perfect. So I know it might seem obvious to you, but really, rehearse your pitch. Practice delivering it to colleagues or friends. Just try to get feedback. This helps. This will help you refine your delivery. It will boost your confidence, and it will just make the pitch sound like something really natural. So practicing out loud is really especially helpful with improving the natural flow of the pitch. I would even suggest like to have a two versions, like a 1 minute version for quick introductions and a 3 minute version for conversation where you have a bit more time. Anticipate questions. Be ready for those. An openness and desire for dialogue shows your confidence and a desire to build a deeper connection, a bit deeper relationship. And of course, another good tip would be to think about potential questions or objections your audience might have and to prepare answers in advance. Imagine what kind of questions you're going to be getting. So, for example, if someone asks, why is your solution better than others? Be ready to explain your project's unique value. And finally, stay flexible. Stay flexible. Be ready to adapt your pitch on the spot if the situation calls for it. So before we wrap up, that is good. So that means we'll have some times for questions and for any other things you may want to ask. I just want to thank you for being here today, for hanging in there for over an hour, for listening, for joining from wherever you are, whether it's the early hours of the morning or the middle of the night in your zone. Really, thank you. It's very, very nice to see that there's interest in communications. This is really meaningful stuff for me, and we'll follow up with resources that you can add to your toolbox. So we've explored target audience analysis, storytelling, crisis communication, digital publication tips, and crafting the perfect pitch. These are all tools that are designed to empower you, no matter your level of experience, to communicate more effectively and to make a greater impact with your project. And really, I want you to remember communication can be the key that unlocks support, funding, and collaboration. And of course, it's the key to visibility of organizations. So with all the templates that I'm going to be sharing, we're going to be outlining again everything we've shared today, and you're more than welcome to email me anytime or to ask questions now or to follow up later. To ask questions that may not have been addressed today. And really, here's your challenge to move forward, and my call to action: don't let this be just another webinar. Take what you've learned today and apply it to your next project, to your next campaign, your next presentation. Start small. Just pick one tool from the communications toolbox and see how it transforms your work. And of course, we're here to support you along the way. So I'm opening the floor to questions. If you have anything specific to ask, we'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you very much for hanging in there for it's a long time, over 1 hour of talking. And I would say I hope it's been inspiring, and I hope it can resonate to with some of you. So thanks again for joining. And remember, communication isn't just a skill, it's a superpower. So go out there, just use it to make a difference, and you can see really what you can accomplish. So thank you very much for your attention until now.
Well, first of all, thanks to you, Alain, for all the tips and the tools that you shared with us. I think this is a super toolkit that we will use as a resource in all of our work as needed. I saw that Asha, your hand is up, and you also left a question in the chat. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Asia from the MSP Global program. I was just wondering, because I'm really interested in crisis communication. Thank God I never really had to do it. But is there any like case you could think of can be really anything of a project that you know or something that really did successful or not successful crisis communication, or maybe anyone else here has any experience in that? You're muted, Helen.
There we go. Now, I maybe let somebody in the room speak. If not, I can talk about some crises that we had. But if anyone wants to share first, please go ahead. Okay, I don't know. It seems like I am. So I'll go ahead and I'll basically talk about like two situations that I have only sort of been watching from the outside because since we work for a river basin organization and countries have their own mandate on their activities. This is sort of just something that I've been watching from outside, and it's the flood situation in Austria that we had in the summer. So I saw that what was really important is if you remember that slide, I mean, I'm not going to go back because it's going to take me an hour to share again, but it's really about issuing a message right away saying we're here, we are monitoring, and we are trying to find a solution. Show empathy, go there, meet the people, and use images where you show that you have done something, that you really put your team together. That's like for you as an organization, you need to put your team together, but what you also need is to have the response. I would really suggest some sort of a crisis communication manual that you have at hand with your comms team, where when you get in case of a flood or in case of a chemical spill or whatever else, you simply are ready to pull it out and to say, okay, in that case, what did I do 5 years ago? What worked 5 years ago? Will it work again now? Let's try to test it and let's try to be ready. So this is sort of how I can say it. There's of course also the problem of the NGOs, the public, etc. That also can be difficult sometimes because they don't have the same understanding as you have as an organization. But you just have to be calm. You have to stay calm, to stay consistent, to stick to your message, and very importantly, to really carry out your strategy and at the end to reflect on what you've done and not to hide. Don't hide the crisis. That's extremely important. Some people kind of feel that if they don't talk about the crisis, it's going to go away. It's the opposite. I hope that, Ashia, that helps you a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I have not been reading the chat. I don't know if there's anything else. Yes, I have some tips for audience analysis. I can tell you that it varies from each organization. What's also very useful is to do a stakeholder mapping in your work to sort of check who and to take that stakeholder mapping and to every 3-4 years to sort of check it out. What has happened to our stakeholders? Have they changed? How do they feel about us? I mean, communications is a very fast-paced science, I would say. So you need to constantly revisit what you've done and to reevaluate and to reorient yourself. Anyone
Any,
else?
yeah, more questions or comments or sharing of experiences or? The questions in the chat were about sharing of the presentation and the recording of this webinar, but also of the previous webinars on the same series. So we provided the links there. Eventually, the plan is that all the communication-related resources and material will be grouped together in a communication hub. So this is something that we are working towards, which will be a one-stop shop of everything that is being developed or resources that are being made available. But for the moment, these are the links where you can find the materials, and of course, we'll do the same with the presentation from today and the recording.
And the handouts, because again, I have some material that we can add to the toolbox based on what was presented today. Yeah. So.
Yes.
So I've been a bit quicker than was planned, but I don't know if there's any other questions. I talk fast. I guess that's maybe what it is. I really sincerely hope that was useful for everyone here. So, and that nobody fell asleep.
No, we didn't. Certainly, we didn't.
Okay, good.
This is the opportunity. I see a new message coming in. A long one.
Yeah, that's
of an example.
That's my colleague Maddie, who's sharing an example from Johnson & Johnson crisis communication. Yeah, that's actually that's important. There was, I mean, that's actually interesting that you bring up this example, Maddie, because there was something similar in the Danube with Borealis, who's a chemical company on the Danube and who is actually has very high sustainability standards. But somehow one article in the newspaper just ruined their their reputation, and it was really, really very difficult for them. And I think until today, people associate them with chemical spills, which actually were never verified. So it was just crisis communication plan gone bad in that case. So that would be exactly the opposite case of what Mehdi was presenting. My colleague from the SCPDR was presenting from Johnson & Johnson. Because they were trying to hide it. That's the whole thing. You need to call a crisis and to address it. That makes you more human, and that just gets you more places.
If there are no more questions or anyone else who would like to come in to say to share anything, I would like I have two more things. One, I would like to invite everybody to turn on the camera. I know this is usually not the easiest ask for us to take a photo, a print screen, a screenshot. So let's see how many of us there. That's great. Hello.
All these faces coming up. That's nice. Good to see you all.
Perfect. Any more? Camila, can I ask you to take a screenshot? Would that be something you can do? There's still a few without the cameras on, but okay, I think that's already much better. Okay, and the second point, I saw that Olivia from Grida, there you are, hi, is with us as well.
My co-pilot from Montevideo.
I don't want to put you on the spot. We didn't really talk about this, let's say, right before the webinar. We did mention it earlier, but I mean, we are planning the next webinar in this webinar series, and I think it's a good opportunity to share a bit more with the audience here on when that it will be and what we plan to focus on. Shall I give you the floor?
Sure. Yeah, just to mention what we have planned for January. So it'll be me and two other colleagues, and we're going to present 3 core skills. So one of them is going to be making social media cards. One of them will be how to write a press release and send it out to the media. And then the other one will be how to make a reel for Instagram. And so I'll present the reel. My colleague Maria, who's the head of communications at Grid Arendal, will talk about press release, and then our social media team lead Gwen will talk about how to make the social media campaign. And it's going to be like super practical, hands-on, how to do it. And then we'll have everyone will be challenged to pick one of those three things and do it themselves. And you'll have two or 3 weeks between the webinars, and then we'll have a follow-up webinar where we will present what everyone produced based on the training, and we will give really kind feedback, and we'll talk about what you did great and how you can improve for next time. So that's the plan, and I hope to see a lot of you there. But thank you so much, Hélène. This has been a really nice presentation, and I think that this is like a really natural lead into ours, so people can think more about their audience and what their goals are and have all of these tips, and then it'll lead right nicely into the practical.
Thank you, Olivia, and I definitely will be attending that. That's going to be a super webinar for sure. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you, Olivia, and thank you, Alan. Unless anybody has a last minute, some final question or comment, we will announce the new dates, the 2 webinars that Olivia just referred to in the coming weeks before the end of the year, so you can put them in your calendar. Yes, and unless somebody would like to take this opportunity, then I wish you all a good day, rest of the day. Thank you all, and hope to see you on the next
Thank
webinar.
you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you, Claudette. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.